Hello, everyone. Welcome to Popcast on the Rocks, episode 99. We're a show that talks about pop culture things, and sometimes there's whiskey. My name is John, and I am joined, as always, by Andrea. Are you popping your
Hey.
shoulders there? Is that
Yep.
what's happening?
Little whiskey dance, little
Okay,
whiskey pop.
nice. All right. Well, how you doing this week?
I'm good. We're here on a very unusual night for us. We're kind of a Fridays or Sundays kind of show, and today is
Hmm.
Monday.
I know.
Getting
Well,
after it, Monday motivation,
good
and other
ways
such things.
to start a Monday.
Yeah,
It's with
it's with us.
drinks.
It's with us and with drinks.
Okay, with us and drinks. All right, you're right. Us, then drinks. All right.
All right. I forgive you for the ranking.
Yeah.
Just for the ranking. Well, yeah. So happy Monday. It is not any particular, holiday like it was last week. Um,
Yeah.
but it is a drink holiday today. It is National Vermouth Day. You can cook with it. You can make a mean martini with it. It's versatile. So
Sure.
do with it what you will.
Hmm.
I do not have vermouth in my glass. I am celebrating from last week. Little carryover. Little whiskey ginger to celebrate St.
Now
Patrick's
you've got the
Day. I
whiskey
know,
ginger,
I
of
know. I was
course.
like, John's gonna be
You,
so mad at
you
me.
just got, yeah, you just got to rub it in.
I know. I just
Hmm.
couldn't do it last time.
Yeah.
Ugh. But I
Mm.
did it today in honor of St.
Okay.
Patty's Day. We kind of
Nice.
unfortunately missed it. The Stewart household was down with a stomach bug. So
Oh,
there was not a lot of celebration happening in our
yeah.
house that night. So today was kind of our makeup St. Patrick's Day. Chris made shamrock pancakes and drinking a little Two Gingers whiskey. So happy
Yeah.
St. Patty's Day carried over.
Nice. Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
Um,
And then also last week, a couple of days before, it was a very, very different drink holiday. It was
yeah.
Espresso Martini Day, which I can't say that I've ever had. So
Really,
good, maybe. Have you?
I I feel like I must have tried one. I
Mm,
never ordered one, but
yeah.
I
I
feel
know
like
I've had like
someone had to have a chocolate one, right?
I've had like a
Hmm.
chocolate martini. I again, never ordered, but I think probably at somebody's house or,
Hmm.
some party somewhere. But
Yep. Yep. Okay, yeah, I we celebrated St. Patrick's Day. It's kind of always got to make sure it happens. Have the family over. So,
nice.
um
What'd you have for eats?
it we made what's it called? Like loxtie again like
Mm-hmm.
last year, so kind of a little potato pancake with
Yeah.
cooked cabbage and bacon and stuff, and then bangers. So,
Delicious.
yeah, and then I made Irish soda bread that morning, so it's good to go there. And
Good stuff. Way to rock
yeah,
it.
yeah. So, but I'm gonna bring it with me today too. Got a Smithic
Nice. There
Irish
you go.
made red ale.
There you
So,
go. It's
yep,
the spirit.
I'll join you on your St. Patrick's Day
Well, thank you.
honorary one. Yep. All right. We have a lot of news.
We really
We've
do.
got some fun stuff in our weeks we'll cover here.
Mhm.
A number of news stories. Some we'll be able to fly through quick, but they're worth mentioning. And then later, we're going to talk about. I feel like this is a different one for us. The
It is.
tragedy of Macbeth. I mean, right up your alley for sure.
Yes, yes. Also, hence
Uh,
the shoulder popping.
yeah, it's on Apple TV Plus.
Mhm,
It's the latest version of the classic story. So we
mhm.
will be getting spoilery about that, but that will be much later. So all right. Your week. Fun things. Not so fun
Yes.
things.
A little bit of both, I mean, I already said
Hmm.
about the stomach bug, so,
Yeah.
there's on the
Mm.
downswing there. Um, moving slightly upward, we've been tackling some projects around our house, which though they've been going well and we've, enjoyed them mostly, it's always tough to kind of take away all that time and energy and do crafty things around your house. We
Yeah.
are finally a year after our floors were put in at our house, putting in the trim. so our house can look finished and nice, and we don't have to look at our ugly baseboards with all the house layers of paint that have come before us.
Sure, yeah.
So, I mean, on the plus side, we've been finding some real fun colors and questioning people's choices
Okay.
pretty heavily.
Yeah,
But
I wonder how many people had your place before you. It's always
um, I know at least two. I mean, the couple we bought it from um had been here a while, but the house was built in 87, which is my birth year. So I know they weren't living here for like 30 years. So,
for whatever reason, I didn't think 87. I just thought you were 88 with us.
no, no. I'm
Ah,
that yeah, I'm that
man.
old gal, fish out of water in 87. Yeah, I know, right? So old, 6 months older than you guys. Listen to my
What's
wisdom, John.
okay, all right. Alan too. So okay, so both you
That's
guys.
right.
I gotta call
Rocking
you
that
a
87.
senpai.
That's right. Show me some respect, son.
What's the Chinese zodiac for that? For 87?
Rabbit, I think.
Rabbit, okay.
I'm or
Okay.
hare.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Huh.
Are you guys tiger?
Dragon.
Dragon. Okay. All
I
right.
mean, I
I knew it
can't
was like a
complain.
powerful animal,
Yeah, I can't
you know.
complain.
I just couldn't remember. Yeah.
Well, you guys
I
are
don't know.
fast anyways, you know?
Yeah. Rabbits are cute.
Mhm. Yep. Okay. Well, it looks like a birthday too, huh?
Yes, yes. Big on the upswing. Everett, our daughter, turned 1 year old this past week, and I freaking can't believe it. It feels like it's gone so fast, and yet at the same time, I've definitely lived every one of those 365 days.
Yeah.
I've felt
Yeah.
each of them, and yet somehow now they're slipping through my fingers. Yeah, crazy. Chris, we had fun. Um, we introduced her to cupcakes for the first time, which she predictably loved. Also smashed predictably all over her face and clothes
Mhm.
when we got home, and I took her little like toddler jeans off of her. They were definitely more frosting than fabric. Like it was insane, but she had a ball. She loved it. So that was pretty cute. Um,
Nice.
and then Chris for the past year had been doing one of those like 1 second every day video. Like
Okay.
you like you take video every single day for a year, and then at the end of the year you kind of like choose 1 second clips from every day, and then this program will like mash them all into one big video. So it's like your whole year in 1 second per day. It's pretty
Okay.
cute. So we
I
did
was
that
gonna
with
ask
Everett.
how your editing would go on that. There's a lot of chopping and editing,
Yeah.
but it's some
Yeah.
program just upload the files and
Yeah, so you upload the file, and then you get to choose like the one, it's like 1 to 1.5 seconds you can get.
Mhm.
You get to choose that little clip, and you can do it. I think it lets you do it like retroactively, but I don't think you can do it all the way retroactively. I think that would take
Okay.
you just bananas amounts of time. But yeah, so you just like choose your 1 second or 1.5 seconds per day, and then yeah, at the end of the year the application just mashes them all together in this cute little video.
Did
So
it turn out well then?
it did. It did. It was
Nice.
really fun. It's like 9 minutes long. So I mean,
Yeah.
decent length.
Yeah.
And it was fun. Like there were some moments that I'd kind of forgotten about, and you can definitely like go all the way back to the beginning and be like, whoa, like that really was so different than she is now. Like,
Mhm.
she's basically a little bit over tripled in size, and
Okay.
obviously has way more ability to do things like, crawl and stand and sit and,
Mhm.
feed herself. So yeah, it was just crazy to look back over that year. Very
Yep.
cool. Highly
Nice.
recommend that.
Awesome.
So
Well,
yeah, so it was
congrats.
fun. Thank you. Got to celebrate her birthday in style. Definitely, a fan of the sugar. So she's
Can
fitting
I
right
do
in
that
our
for
house.
Dobby? Can I
What?
do it a second a day for Dobby?
Yeah, you can. I think it
That's
would be
real
adorable.
yeah, right?
I mean, sometimes you like sometimes we would plan it out what we were gonna do, and then sometimes it
Mm-hmm.
was like spontaneous. Like she would just do something, and we're like, "Oh my god, do it again, do it again!"
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So, and then there were some days, like I think 1 or 2 days, we did forget, um, but we could like steal video clips from her baby monitor. So like there's
Okay.
some like fun things she did, like she like sneezed while she slept, or like we when she rolled over and slept on her stomach for the first time, like, we could just steal
Mm-hmm.
that from her baby monitor, which
Yeah.
still freaks me out.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's funny, like looking back at some moments, I'm like, oh my God. Like there were just some scary times too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you should totally do it. It's really fun.
Nice.
So yeah, that's kind of all of my life events that have occurred over the past week. In terms of entertainment things, I finished this last season of The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel on
Okay.
Amazon Prime. I'm really still enjoying that show. It's got one more season left to go, and I think it's the type of show that knows when it needs to wrap up. Like
Okay.
the
Nice. Yeah.
journey, it's cute and it's good, but it's like, yeah, I have one more season of this and you're good.
Nice.
So, yeah, I would still highly recommend that. Um, and then I also on Disney Plus watched the new release Turning Red, a Disney Pixar movie about a Chinese Canadian teen who, because of a curse on her family, turns into a giant red panda when she hits puberty and her emotions run very high. So, like, every time she has,
Mm.
like, any type of really strong emotion, it, like, triggers and she turns into this giant red panda. So,
Wow.
she kind of has to navigate that, navigate school, navigate her family, and her friends who are, like, all obsessed with this very awesome boy band that's like simultaneously a throwback to the 90s, 2000s, but also like current K-pop bands. I love it.
Mm.
It's just like everything. It's great.
Nice.
So highly recommend that as well. And then I watched The Tragedy of Macbeth, of course, which we'll be talking about later. And then I just dipped a toe into Apple TV's Physical episode 1. I saw that you'd watched that. It's been on my list for a long time, so I was just like, let's just do it. John did it. Like it's the catalyst for me jumping on too. So,
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I wanted to try. This is just looking at different shows on there. I like Rose
yeah, I was
Byrne
going to
so
say
much.
you had an Apple TV kind of week
Yeah.
for non-anime
Yeah.
shows. You were all about Apple TV.
Yeah. Um, got in our regular 2 episodes of the animes we're watching.
Mhm.
Don't Toy With Me and My Dress Up Darling. Both still good. Lots of fun. So we're episode 8 of My Dress Up Darling and 10 of Don't Toy With Me.
Mhm.
They're just the latest English releases of those.
Sure.
And then managed to see the Jujutsu Kaisen Zero movie, which
Mhm.
came out on Friday.
Right.
So it's the prequel to the season, but definitely want to see the season and then the movie. So yeah, that was a lot of fun, and it sounds like it's doing well in the theaters too. Like
Good.
it's making some money. So hopefully
Excellent.
that stays. A lot of times, these anime films that they would put in the theaters, they used to like it be a night. Fathom Events special
Mhm.
screening at AMC, some theaters for a night. And
Yes,
this
I
is
remember that.
for at least 5 days or something. This is in theaters for a while. So very happy to
Nice.
see that change.
I agree. It's so hard to make anything for just a night, you know?
Hmm.
It just always feels like, well, you know, what if I really, really like it? What if I really want to see it and I'm just busy that night?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. So recommend that. Yeah, regular. There's a new Ghost Adventures that started. We haven't been watching that for quite a while, but thought, well, let's try the new stuff, see what's happening there. Lots of UFC in just the background. And then yeah,
Mhm.
you mentioned the Apple TV kind of week. Macbeth, obviously, Physical, and then I tried We Crashed as well. I wasn't exactly planning. It was like, oh, it's an hour long. I don't know, but I give it a shot, with it being a new show, and, I don't know who this is based on. It's based on a true story and real
Right.
people.
The
Are you
WeWork.
aware Yeah, are you aware of this story, this real life
Yeah.
story? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
know.
I roughly, I couldn't like,
Mhm,
if you sat me down in a courtroom, I couldn't give you like a sketch of the plot there, but um
mhm.
yeah, I mean, I essentially know the story of the WeWork founder.
Okay, okay. So, good performances so far, that's
Mhm.
what's kinda keeping me in, on it so far, and,
Yeah, I was trying to decide if I was like, okay, I only have time to watch one of these. Is it going to be
mhm,
physical or is it going to be we crashed? And I just felt like physical's been on my list. I love Rose Byrne. I love the premise of it.
yep,
So I
the
just kind of
time setting, I
yeah,
wanna see the and, yeah, I think it's based on first episodes, physical is not what I expected so
agreed.
far,
It's
um,
darker than I expected it to be.
yeah, and I it's like I can see I can relate more than I thought in some ways, but then, like, seeing a very extreme kind of, uh, like, the inner turmoil of her
Yeah.
lead character, and then, yeah, I don't know.
I
I didn't expect what it was.
Yeah, I had kind of the same reaction. Like there were moments where I was like, I've, had that kind of not to that level and not that intensely, but I've had some of that like talk with myself. And I think,
Mhm,
you know, there that's the very slippery slope sometimes of being concerned about, your weight and how you
mhm,
look and diets and things like that. It can really spiral out of control.
yep,
Um and obviously, we're, physicals exploring that. But
yep,
yeah,
yep,
very different
so,
than what I expected, but still really, really good. And I think is getting into more of the meat of what I thought it was going to be in the next couple of episodes.
okay, okay,
Just kind of getting
yeah,
into that like aerobics lane.
mhm, mhm, yep. Yeah. Um, Good enough for me to keep trying anyways, see what's
Same.
happening.
Same.
And then I've started reading Daredevil graphic novel again a little bit, Daredevil Chinatown. Um, and it's a couple different graphic novels I've been wanting to read. There's a new, not new. I bought way back in the '90s an issue one of a Spider-Man. It was a kind of a restart done by Todd McFarlane. And I loved it. It's a really really cool issue, but I've never continued the arc. And in this arc, they also include Morbius. So
Mm,
I kind of
perfect
want to
timing.
yeah, I kind of want to pick it up. I don't have that one. I kind of want to pick it up and read through it. And like I'm familiar with in Spider-Man world, only familiar with Morbius from the animated series.
Right.
I've never read any comics with him actually as a villain. So
Sure.
yeah,
Well, like I said, good timing as that comes out on April 1st, unless
yeah,
that's a giant April Fool's joke.
yeah.
I
That'd
mean, considering the
be
considering the release date has been pushed and pushed and pushed, I mean, it'd
yeah.
be it'd be kind of fitting and
Mm-hmm.
very ironically funny. Haha.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I'll use this then to transition into our news. I've been playing
Yeah,
Mario Kart 8 and the new tracks that are available on there. And we had been kind of leading up to this, trying to make sure we have gold trophies in all of the different speed categories and stuff like that on all the existing tracks. We didn't quite get there yet. But yeah, we've been trying the new tracks now, and it's been a lot of fun. So
sure.
I'm very, very excited about this. And Mario World
Mhm.
is finally going to be coming stateside.
Yes, it is. It's coming to Universal in California in 2023, or so the rumor goes. Um, yeah, I will totally be there. I want to ride a real life Mario Kart ride. That
Yeah.
sounds awesome.
I want it to be in Florida though. I mean, Florida traditionally has the bigger, better Universal,
I
and Disney and
agree.
everything.
I agree with you for sure. But yeah, I mean, I don't make that decision. So I don't know
Yeah.
why
Well,
they picked California.
I think it's coming to Florida too, just not
Maybe
as
later.
soon. Yeah.
Hmm.
Mhm. So,
Yeah, I
uh,
mean, this particular article I found hadn't really mentioned Florida, so I mean, I don't know one way
mhm.
or another, but yeah, it's
Yep.
definitely planned for California, especially after the opening in Japan went so well.
Yeah. I'm excited. Uh,
Yes.
s- Sticking on the video game talk, this is very uncommon for me, but I missed this state of play.
Oh, sure.
Sony State of Play featuring the upcoming Harry Potter game. I think Hogwarts Legacy. Yeah, and it's quite a bit of gameplay. I guess I've heard reactions.
Okay.
People were pretty impressed.
Good.
Seemed like it was more ambitious than people figured it would be.
Good.
So I really haven't heard a lot of a negative. What people came away pretty positive. So
That's great.
yeah,
That's I feel like that's so rare.
I still
So
hope to
often
watch
and
it and
things are
judge
so
for myself,
disappointing
but
and
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it's
Mhm,
just like there's always something, No matter how
mhm.
good it is, there's always something. So yeah, for it to get a positive review, I'm happy.
I think we're just getting to a point where, again, the technology is so universally accessible, and there's so much talent out there. The talent pool is very big for making games, and it's kinda like I think that's part of Elden Ring. Why
Mm,
that shocked so many people is it just blew away their expectations. They never
sure.
imagined that FromSoft would make a game so expansive and so
Mhm.
ambitious, and then they drop it in your lap, and it is. And
Mhm.
so, we're kind of used to usually video games based on pre-existing IP, not being all that great to start with. And so, yeah, if you get one of those revealed and it's just not a cookie cutter, whatever
Right.
you would imagine. Yeah, you're in for a surprise, and I think that's yeah, I'm excited. Make your own character, go in your dormitory, and
Oh, you're back on Hogwarts. Okay.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah.
Otherwise, Elden Ring is way different than I thought it was.
You can maybe set up camp somewhere, and it's called this your
Call it my
dormitory.
dormitory.
Yeah, you and like one other player can hang out in there. Yeah. Hmm. Yep. So excited. Um, One other thing in gaming, a quick I'll say too. I think early reviews are out for Ghostwire Tokyo. That's
Oh,
coming
okay.
out very shortly. Oh my god, there's another gaming story. Okay, okay, so reviews for Ghostwire Tokyo are looking pretty good, like
Okay.
sevens and such. And then
Solid.
they did a Xbox indie showcase, I think, last week, and they surprise dropped Tunic on Game Pass.
Oh,
So
nice.
Tunic is basically a company that wanted to make their own kind of Zelda-like game. You're a cute fox wearing a tunic like Link is or whatever. It's very beautiful, fun art style. And I think I haven't read any reviews, but I think people are liking this too. And it was definitely a surprise. Like, bam, here it is on Game Pass. So yeah,
Nice.
lots of
Hey,
good
look at
stuff.
that. Good gaming news. How
I know.
rare.
Yeah, absolutely. There's more too, but I'll save it for now.
I know. I was gonna since you brought up Elden Ring, I was gonna bring up something and then I was like, no, 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 no. We don't have time. We don't have time for
Okay,
this.
okay.
Like
Yeah. We talk a little bit about superhero things because, of course, what dominates pop culture talk more than superhero things?
right?
Netflix did Disney did put the Netflix Marvel shows onto their streaming service now, so they are
So much
once
hope
again
in that.
available.
Netflix put them back. No, just kidding.
No, I think this is great. This is great
Yeah.
news. It's suggesting that they're clearly open to mature content
Mhm.
on their service.
Right.
Some people worried like if they're gonna censor anything or like make it whatever. That apparently it's as it was. They featured him on the home screen stuff. I think so.
Yeah.
I heard some people say, "Hey, the best Disney Plus shows are now available."
Yeah, I forget I mean, when I look back at like say WandaVision and Loki and Hawkeye and things like on the whole they were pretty PG-13, but there were
Yes.
some moments that kind of showed Disney taking baby steps, kind of getting into a little bit more mature content, a little bit of, you know, action and violence there that I mean, probably Falcon and Winter Soldier was like the darkest they went, but
Yeah, when they had
again, they
the
took they took like baby steps. The
yeah.
World Organization, I
Mhm,
forget the name of it now. Um,
mhm.
but yeah, I mean, there was some pretty dark stuff in there, but yeah, I obviously not to the level of the Netflix shows.
Yeah, and it's a difference between, you know, suggesting and knowing what's off camera versus then
Yeah.
showing it, you
Well,
know?
and they did again like baby steps. There were, I mean, in Falcon and Winter Soldier, there was like a murder on camera that we
Yep.
watched. Like bombs exploding and hitting actual people. Um,
Mhm.
they didn't show like body parts flying around
Right.
now, but they were kind of testing the waters, we'll say.
Yep. Yep. Well, I'm happy they're there. I hope more people get
Mhm.
exposed to them. I hope, you know, there's a lot of talk going around where Daredevil is gonna appear next exactly.
Yeah.
Um, you know, the Echo show makes perfect sense. It would seem disappointing if that wasn't the case, honestly.
Right.
The She-Hulk show makes a lot of sense.
Mhm.
And then there's been some rumors about oh, well, okay, I'm gonna kind of skip around here in this
Sure.
lead into this. There's been some rumors about the next Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Um, and this rumor is Anya Taylor-Joy, the one of the it people right now,
Mhm.
seems, is has reportedly been cast as Black Cat
Mhm.
in the 2024 film Spider-Man 4, and Charlie Cox is expected to be in there as well.
I mean,
Uh,
I am good with both of these developments. I'm not gonna lie, Charlie Cox more so because I love him and I love his turn as Matt Murdock. And like, as far as I'm concerned, he can cameo in everything if he wants to. I mean,
yeah,
I really love the show and I really love his portrayal. So, yeah.
I mean, obviously, it's for I'm pickier about the characters I care more about, and
Hmm.
it's someone like Kingpin that when we see him outside of where we've seen him far outside of the Daredevil series, though it's exciting, was not handled as well, in
It's
my opinion,
disappointing.
as right. So, as much as I want more, and it's like, that's, let's not waste time. We could have been having Daredevil in things already before or whatever. At the same time, I want him to do it right and keep the integrity of the character and don't
Yeah.
just throw him everywhere.
Yeah. I get you. I mean, in all seriousness, I I want there to be a balance between doing it right and doing it
Mhm.
because yeah, I mean, ultimately if the idea is that he can appear in things that people would be seeing for other reasons and they kind of get introduced to the character, thus introduced to the show, perhaps we get another season, like yeah, I'm
Mhm.
all for that, let's use this to momentum build. I mean, I'm not, you can do that and I have no shame about that. Go get it. If that's the end result, then great, go
Mhm.
get it. But yes, I do ultimately care also that it's not just total throwaway crap. I
Yep.
mean, I'm willing to forgive a little bit, but you know, don't do them wrong either.
Yep. Yep. It'd be one of those things like, "Oh, the fans wanted it," and then they don't do it
Just
well,
yeah.
and like, yeah, like, "Oh, I thought you wanted this." "Well, we want you to not mess it up." Like
Right.
that.
Yeah.
So, I think and as far as the other part of the story with Anya Taylor-Joy,
Mm-hmm.
um, I think that's a potentially fun casting, for Black Cat. I'm a little
Hmm.
worried about what they will do with Black Cat, like, it's not really a type of, kind of vixen character that Marvel is particularly amped to put to screen these days.
Mhm.
And so if they're not gonna make Black Cat, again, just leave her out a bit.
Mhm.
But she's pretty cool. She's like a Catwoman, you know?
Well, and
So
I feel like your concerns are more to do with the character rather than potentially the casting.
yeah,
You know what
yeah,
I
for
mean?
sure.
Like, the casting news, I'm excited-ish because I think she's a great actress. Obviously, um, TBD on whether she fits the role because what is the role gonna be?
Mhm. Yep,
So, yeah, potentially excited, hope it's done well, if this is
yep,
true.
yep. Um, did you we haven't really talked about the Spider-Man movie, right? The last one?
No, we haven't. Mm-mm.
Okay, did you see it?
No.
Okay, alright, okay. Well, then we
It's
won't talk
in
about it, right?
my plan. It
Yes,
is,
no,
I
it's fine,
swear.
it's okay, okay. Um, it's perfectly fine. I just was gonna, like, comment because, I was gonna say it seems like everybody's happy with what Sony's doing largely on
Mhm.
their end of the Marvel spectrum, but I was kinda let down by the latest Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, I
Um,
remember you saying that
yeah,
when
so
you first saw it. So, yeah, I mean, I felt in the moment I was really excited to go see it and then just kind of really didn't fit into my timetable, and since then I've sort of like lost the
yeah,
drive
mhm,
without like, hey, we're going to talk about it on the podcast, or
yeah,
some other big reveal is happening, go watch Spider-Man because you don't want to miss X.
yep,
Yeah, just haven't gotten there.
yep. A little more Marvel stuff yet.
Mhm.
So let's see. Oh yeah. So this ties in. I kind of jumble this up a little bit, but Anya
That's all right.
Taylor-Joy just quickly was also rumored to maybe be Harley Quinn. Like there,
Yeah.
so I think they were. I think it was maybe Matt Reeves from doing the Batman was like, he's clearly thinking ahead what
Mhm.
they'd like to do, has in mind different stuff,
Right.
and with it seeming like Margot Robbie is kind of maybe done for now,
Mhm.
that if he were to bring in Harley Quinn, I don't know if this is anything more than the director in his head seeing the
Thinking out loud.
character. Yeah, right.
Yeah, so I was reading that article and they were talking about ways that, if this is true and she's, potentially going to be Harley Quinn, where could she fit into what's going on with like Reeves's Batman? And I agree with the writer of the article where they were like, probably not going to be introduced in the cinematic universe unless Margot Robbie officially says,
Hmm.
I'm
She's
not going to
done.
be I'm not going to be Harley Quinn. So we're like, okay, well, that really kind of leaves his TV universe. And that's looking less likely because, of course, we now know that the one of his two shows that was in development in HBO Max, the one that was going to follow a Gotham police officer, that got the axe. So now there's just like the Penguin focused story. And the writer was like, seems more unlikely. It might happen maybe somewhere in like season 2 if it gets picked up. But have a hard time feeling like Harley Quinn would be linked with like a Penguin origin story. I was like, yeah, that kind
Sure.
of makes sense. They're not traditionally two characters that really, you
No.
see go together. Um, so yeah, so I don't know if, like you said, this is maybe Matt Reeves just like thinking out loud, if this was like a potential, like, we're generating some movement based on this one show. Now it got canceled. Now we're, kind of left dangling in the wind and we don't know what we're going to do. But
Well, and what better way as a, high profile director on a big movie to just toss out a name that you like
big
to like
name.
let the person and the agent of that person know,
Yeah, come to
hey,
you, man.
yep, let's
Just
so
thinking about you.
mhm,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think she's got a great look for Harley Quinn, but I'm just sort of not as enthused about that potential casting. I'd rather, I think,
Okay.
see her as Black Cat.
Okay. I
And
just think, I mean, I'm fine with, when Hollywood finds people they like, it's fine, but, let's not put
She doesn't need to
Anya
be in everything.
Taylor-Joy and Zendaya in everything,
Yeah.
let's just
Yep.
cool
We
it.
don't need to be in everything.
Yeah. So, um, lots of shows coming to Disney Plus in the Marvel universe,
Hmm.
and the latest one that we got a trailer for, I should say,
Hmm.
because Moon Knight's next,
Yes.
is Ms. Marvel.
Hmm.
We've got a trailer drop for that one. Um, did you get to watch it?
I did. Yes.
Do you have any familiarity with this character?
Like general story arcs, yes. Um, I can't say that I have fully read a comic. I've read a couple pages of different stories, but it's not my like number one. I know everything about Miss Marvel.
Okay. Yeah, the Marvels and Miss Marvel and all that stuff that's really been like in the comic book space, like worked and reworked a lot.
Hmm.
It's coming kind of a weird, tumultuous timeline for the name, anyways.
Yeah, I was
And
gonna say I know this one is a reboot based in 2013. I think this
that
particular
sounds
version
about
of the
right.
character.
Hmm.
So I mean,
Yep.
I was, after the trailer going back to kind of dig into what I did and didn't know generally. So that's what
Yep.
I remember from this.
I'd like to know how well this character has done. The character's been kind of a media darling, but I want to know like if people are interested or not. And I was after watching this trailer because we kind of had suspected it earlier when we saw a little snippet in like what Disney Plus Day or whatever it was. I was
Hmm.
like, this doesn't look like her powers. And
Right.
indeed, they changed her powers
They did.
completely.
They did.
And it's another one of those things. I have never read a Ms. Marvel comic, not this version anyways, so I don't have a stake in the game or a
Hmm.
horse in the race or whatever, um but if I was a fan of this, I would be pretty upset. Like, I
Hmm.
won't be upset for you, you can be upset for yourself or whatever,
Right.
but I would be bothered by this that she now has some sort of cosmic altering harnessing abilities versus like being basically before Mr. Fantastic,
Right.
stretchy, big
Right.
fist stretch and punch. So
Yeah. I mean, I guess, anybody out there, feel free to like add us if there is like some sort of storyline that we don't know about, that, there is something in the comics, even one that they're like really taking and stretching and running with, maybe. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of disappointing that, even though this is like a show based on like a revamp of a character, you wouldn't have that like throwback and call out to these original powers.
mhm. Well, it looks like they're gonna use her. I don't know. It just screams to me that they don't have confidence in the character. They're like, this
Mhm.
character is not cool enough or
Morphogenetics. That's
powerful
an
enough or
interesting word.
something. Yeah. So
Huh.
I don't know. Yeah, I can't say it's one I'm excited for. We'll see what the reviews say when it comes out, and that I'll kind of be basing my judgment on whether I'm
Yeah.
up for it or not. This one, maybe it's more tailored towards kids or something. This
Yeah,
series,
it's a
so
very like, teen drama show.
mhm.
But I mean, on the flip side, they can't all be adults. It's nice that
Right.
we get a little age variation here. So maybe this will be really cute. Who knows?
Yep. Okay, switching from one science fiction thing to another. What's
Hmm.
this you found? This is interesting.
I don't even know how to like express this. Um, so I found this article that was talking about um the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who, and they were talking about
Ooh.
Doctor Who. I mean, something we haven't talked about in a really long time, right?
Yeah. Right.
Our Time Lord. Um, so yeah, so they were talking about the uh the guessing game of who's gonna play the Time Lord after Jodie Whittaker.
Hmm.
And there's some rumors going around that it could be Hugh Grant.
Hugh Grant.
And I can't with this.
Really? Okay. All right.
I mean, this just feels like celebrity
Desperate?
stunt casting.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I mean, and I don't mean I don't like Hugh Grant, and I don't
Mhm.
think he's
Okay.
a bad actor. He's really
I'm
done
gonna
a
text
range.
right now and tell him that you
Yeah,
got a problem
right.
with him.
He
My
so
opinion, yeah.
cares. He's
Yeah.
waiting. He's
Mhm.
waiting to read my review and my opinion. Um, but yeah, I don't like this. The whole substance of this article, is talking about like Russell T Davies coming back and,
Yeah.
expanding and like Doctor Who's going to be this sort of Marvel like franchise series and Hugh Grant's going to helm it, and I'm like I I hate all of these words being put together.
Yeah.
I really do. I
Yeah.
really do. That's not what
Mhm.
Doctor Who is. And I think it's what's wrong with the show now. It's gotten too big for itself. It's got too much money, it's got too much effects, it's got too much like of that weird pressure of like do the bigger, better, cooler storyline, story arcs. What can the TARDIS do? What can the Doctor do? Like I just feel like what it really needs to do is shake all that off and go back to the root of its story. And this is nothing of what I want to see in Doctor Who. There's nothing wrong with Marvel. I love Marvel. I love like their whole universe, but I
Well, I
want
will contradict you on there is
well,
nothing
okay,
wrong with
I don't mean
Marvel. I
that
will
literally. I just mean in general,
you
there's nothing wrong
you
with
enjoy a lot of
enjoying
Marvel.
yes,
Yes.
there's nothing wrong with enjoying the Marvel universe for what it is and what they're building, doing a great job, but that doesn't mean I want everything to be like Marvelized.
Yeah.
And especially a show like this. And so this from top to bottom just feels like wrong directions.
I was talking to Ashley a little bit the other day about like distilling down some of the problems of Hollywood.
Mhm.
And like one thing in particular, obviously this is BBC, not Hollywood, I guess, but
Right.
um it's just comes to this this insatiable greed that makes everything vanilla.
Mhm.
So you have it's insatiable greed guised in moral supremacy that creates vanilla blah for everything. So you
Mhm.
have like if you have a show A and they'll do their research and they'll see their the viewership and they're like, okay, here's the demographic that this show is catching on with. This is
Sure.
the demographic that is most watching this show, and then it breaks down other demographics that are a much smaller percentage.
Mhm.
And like, we need more people on this. We have the demographic that's maybe very passionate and very interested in this show, but that's not enough. We have to appeal to a wider audience. That's not enough. We need to appeal to a wider audience.
Mm.
That's not enough until everybody can be happy. And you know how you make everyone happy? You don't. You don't make everyone happy. And occasionally you hit the sweet spot where a ton
Right.
of people are happy.
Right.
But mostly what you start doing is watering down something that would be very design designed for someone very specific. I
Right.
talk about Japanese culture a lot. Like there are a
Mhm.
million subgenres of manga because they're not afraid to target demographics and accept that with the budget they're putting into it, that if they hit with that demographic, that they will be a success.
Right. It's golden, yeah.
Right. Now that same company will make books for other demographics.
Mhm.
And then if they're a hit with that demographic, it's a success.
Mhm.
Hollywood is so afraid to do this. They can't be like, we want to target 18 to 30-year-old white women.
Mhm.
And this is who we think is going to most likely watch this. And then
Mhm.
if it does well with that audience, they're
That's
not
enough.
happy with that.
Yeah.
They need more. They know
Yep.
we need to get everyone in. And it's like, you're different people, things can resonate with, and that's fine. And you
Mhm.
can have like, not everyone is going to appreciate the tragedy of Macbeth that we just watched. There's
Mhm.
probably a specific audience that ended up watching that, and we're probably
Mhm.
not it, honestly, like, we're probably not in the typical demographic that's enjoying the film.
Yeah, I'm probably an outlier in that demographic.
Right, right, and that's great, like, we watched, Jujutsu Kaisen, it's designed for young men. It's really what it is. Ashley loves it, loves that show.
Mhm.
It's fine. She's an
Yeah.
outlier, doesn't matter. Hollywood is incapable of being okay with this line of thought. And
Mhm.
we're going to get everything that just is blah because once you make it for everybody, it's designed for nobody. And
Which is really why I feel sequels have such problems because that's what they do. Like you usually have a first movie that feels targeted, like it's, like a little broad. There's moments where they're like we could like open it up a little and see who we catch, but it's really focused. And then that's where sequels usually stumble is like, "Oh my god, everybody loved that somehow." Like let's
yeah,
do that, but like broaden to catch these people by design.
yeah,
And that's what sequels usually get a bad rap for is because they're so like, oh, like that wasn't as funny and that was like watered down and that was more like bland than whatever, the first
yeah.
movie did.
You lose artistic integrity
Mhm.
because when you maybe wrote that initial thing, maybe it came from someplace that, something inspired you. And so it
It was
naturally
less
became
about
what it was.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
less about the success or your audience maybe,
Yeah.
in terms of financial, I mean, it was
Right.
still probably about your audience, but it was more like, I really wanna appeal, and I hope they like it, and they hope they enjoy it rather than, like, I hope they enjoy it and spend money on it. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? I mean, I know at some point everything breaks down to money, but I just feel like it's just a degree less usually in your first iteration of something.
Hmm.
It's just a little bit more about making that well and having people like it, that target demographic like it rather than like just being a broad commercial success.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
I
no.
mean, Doctor Who, we'll see.
Oh, yeah, I'm
I
sorry. I just
no,
hate everything that happened in that article. I
I
really do.
it's Doctor Who is another one of those franchises that's just dead to me. Like, if it comes back
With
and it's
this,
amazing, it's
with
just so this was the nail and coffin potentially for you. It's like if they go in this
yes.
route,
Yes, especially when they were like, "He's coming back to Marvelize it." I was like, "No, I'm
yeah.
out. I'm out so hard." I mean, there was a sliver of a chance I could have given to Hugh Grant, but no, not now. Not now that, like, this is the direction they're choosing to go.
You know, it, and it's like I get some people. It's like my thing where I overreact with Star Wars or whatever. Um, I get the idea that, well, okay, so you don't like the sequel trilogy, but then you can like all the, you like Mandalorian, you can like Book of Boba Fett, you can
Mhm.
like whatever other things,
Yep.
But when the damage done, if you care about something like the integrity of a world, when the damage is done to the integrity of the world, there's
Mhm.
things you can't you can't come back from. Like,
Mhm.
you wrote that. That's what happened now. Now,
Mhm.
if that's a grievous enough thing, you've damaged the rest of the world. Like, some people are very excited about a return of a certain character towards the end of the Book of Boba Fett. If you haven't
Mhm.
seen it, I won't say who it is or whatever.
Mhm.
But I'm like, no, you already wrecked that character.
Mm.
That character is a dead character in my book.
Mhm.
So I don't care if they show him doing something cool now.
Mhm.
It's too late.
Yep.
And so Doctor Who is kind of like that. Some of the revelations in the tail end of, I guess, what's been happening in Whitaker's line is beyond the pale. You've
Yep.
changed the canon and the backstory and the meaning of everything too
Yep.
much that you can't go forward now and look at
Mhm.
it the same
Mhm.
unless they do some sort of desperate retconning thing like
Mhm.
they attempted to do in Star Wars Episode 9,
Right.
and that, in my book, failed miserably. Again, it
It
just looks
really
desperate.
did. It really did.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I feel like is happening here. This is just it's so they're like taking this horrible mess and like seeing if they can just like push it to the extreme to make it better. Do you know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
they're just like taking it and running with it and like maybe it'll get better this way if we like go harder at it and
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
No. So I'm highly disappointed by that news. And again, nothing personal against Hugh Grant. He's a fine actor. I've watched him both be comedic and serious and do both well. But this is not his vehicle, and Russell T Davies like marvelizing it is not the solution. So bye.
All right. I'm gonna say literally nothing. All I need to say is Netflix is making a live action Resident Evil series.
Oh god. Yeah, I know. I know. I just it's so much. They're weirdly on Resident Evil.
I
You know
mean,
what I
they must
mean?
have bought some rights, right? All right,
Or
they got
something somewhere because
some
they just had like a little
the
like
movie.
4 episode
Oh, was it
limited
episode?
series.
Okay, I thought it was a film, but yeah, it was okay.
They may have also had a animated film, to be quite honest with you. I swear I saw multiple Resident Evil
Yeah,
content on the service, but yeah, they're really on it right now. I don't know why.
yeah,
I mean, if
yep.
you're looking to capitalize off Res Evil 8, you kinda came in too late here.
I don't know. It just seems to me like if you're gonna if there was a video game franchise that was easy to make a movie or a short series based on, it would be Resident Evil.
Mhm.
It's just a zombie movie, guys.
Right?
Okay? T virus infects people. Leon Kennedy or Jill Valentine or Chris Redfield, like pick a
Leon!
character and they get to like go through and defeat a big enemy. And I just like, I don't
Oh my
know.
god, you
Like,
made a movie, John.
I just don't like it's been done so many times.
I know.
If you like I'm not saying you'd be doing something original. You'd be doing That's what it is. Resident Evil isn't exactly original.
Mhm,
They even got uh claims against plagiarism in the last Resident Evil for
mhm.
taking monsters and designs from other people's stuff. So
Yep.
I just don't know. Like this doesn't you don't need to get Mila Jovovich to like do slow-mo jump flipping things or whatever. And I don't know. If, Alan says Paul W.S. Anderson is already calling you for your script, John. Yeah, okay. I'll have to get back to him. He can leave a message. Um,
John
I
is
just
busy right now.
yeah, yeah. I just don't know. I mean, there's such a level of incompetence
Yeah,
if you can't make this right. I
yeah.
think. I don't know. I don't know. I said I wasn't going to say anything about it.
Look
Damn
at
it.
that. And
I
then
know.
you wrote a movie.
I did. Wow, that was really okay. I mean, that's really bad. Don't take that. Whatever. That's yeah. Okay. Headlining topic. The
Mhm,
spoiler cast element of this.
mhm,
The Tragedy of Macbeth.
mhm.
Um,
I see we both dressed in our, like, muted colors here for this black and
oh,
white
man.
film. Just
That would have
saying.
been really cool if I did like a green screen, just photo of my normal background, turn it black and white,
Yeah.
and like, yeah. Mhm. Should have thought of that. Yeah. So this is the Tragedy of Macbeth on Apple TV Plus.
Mhm,
It's Cohen film.
mhm.
Is it Joel?
Yes.
Joel
He's the
Cohen?
one that, McDormand is married to.
Yeah. So kind of a duo making this film along with Denzel Washington.
Mhm.
So if you haven't seen it and you care, spoilers. We have fortunately on hand uh a resident Shakespeare expert.
Why,
I mean,
thank you.
I should have put like your qualifications on your lower third
Right,
for
right.
talking about Shakespeare tonight.
My
Yeah.
masters, all the
Mhm.
Shakespeare plays I've been in. I haven't been in Macbeth though. I've
Ah,
I've done Lady Macbeth's famous monologue, you know,
okay.
out damn spot. But I haven't actually been in Macbeth.
Okay.
Not a lot of opportunity there. There's obviously in the theater world a lot of superstition around the play.
Interesting.
Um, so yeah, it's the play. When you're in a theater, you don't ever say Macbeth
Okay.
because it's bad luck. You have to say the play that's not named
I feel like tempting fate.
or the Scottish play is what you call it.
Mm,
So anyway,
okay.
just little trivia,
What
little theater
okay.
trivia for you.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's perfect. You can lay it on me because I am what I would basically consider Shakespeare illiterate. Um, I have limited exposure to Shakespeare, though I will say
Mhm.
that n- I did like Macbeth when we read that in school.
Sure.
That was one that we did read, and I did think
We
that one
did
was pretty
too.
cool.
We
So,
did too. Yeah, we actually I had a couple of teachers who were very very into Shakespeare, which is probably what helped kickstart my love of
mhm.
the bard. And yeah, I was always volunteering to read. I felt like I really got his language, and so I played a variety of roles in Macbeth, my favorite being the Weird Sisters. Um, but yeah, played a lot of roles in Romeo and Juliet, Julius Caesar. Yeah, we had some good stuff.
Yeah, I was Friar Lawrence, and as we when
Nice.
we read Romeo and Juliet, so
Nice.
I
I
liked that
was
character.
I was at times Juliet, sadly with one of my friend's boyfriends at the time. So of course, like in middle school, that was like a big
Right.
deal that
Yes.
he was playing opposite, for the balcony scene. My God. Um,
Mhm.
and then I was the nurse, trading body jokes with Mercutio, and that was really fun, especially because looking back on it now, I definitely only got like maybe half of them, and probably half again were wrong. So yeah,
Okay.
that was a good time.
Yeah. So tell us what you appreciate about most about Shakespeare, what you love, what's drawing you to him. So you said already, like you probably have some teachers that were passionate about it that helped
Hmm.
kickstart things that you kind of feel like the language. Would you say that when you say that did it resonate with you, or
Hmm.
you just were able to understand it better than most, or
Yeah, I mean, I think there's certainly a number of things for me about Shakespeare. Of course, like you said, I had teachers who were very passionate about Shakespeare, so that helped. I felt like I picked up on understanding the language a little bit quicker than my classmates did. So there's a sense of pride in like figuring out the puzzle, like
Mhm.
when you get it and you're just like, I get this. Like I feel the cadence, like you just feel like you start to understand the words when you speak them out loud in a really different way. And you're just like, even though 2 seconds ago I had no idea what this word meant, I somehow feel like I do now.
Yeah,
So
I
there's
understand what you're saying.
yeah, there's
Mhm.
just like a trick of it where you're just like, I'm in this, I get this, and suddenly it just clicks with you. Um, and I feel like, setting aside the debates about, whether or not Shakespeare really wrote all of his plays, kind
Mm.
of just accept it at face value for now. It's hard not to be attracted to that kind of genius, whose works resonate how many hundreds of years later, that we're still studying and finding so fascinating, and just like the sheer volume, the output that he did, um, and you know, his coining of phrase that we still use,
Mhm.
the words that he invented. I mean, if some accounts are to be believed, he's, invented tens of thousands of new words. I
Mm.
mean, that's just insane that one person could do so much. It's hard not to just, kind of pour over those texts and just be like, wow. how did this one person accomplish all of this and speak stories that, you know, might not resonate in terms of we don't have kings and queens and we're not fighting over thrones, but there's still such a human element in each of his stories, whether it's a husband and wife relationship, a father-daughter, um, you know, like brother and sisters. There's just so much humanity in these, epic stories of love, of power, of tragedy, of comedy, um, of history, of war, of, you know, epic love. Yeah.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, Shakespeare was viewed eventually as a pretty, like, popular, great
Mhm.
entertainer, right? At the time, it was
Mhm.
very kind of uncommon for a lot of, I think, what we look back on, we see that they didn't in their time get the recognition that we feel they would have deserved now. Whereas I think Shakespeare's, he kind of feels the other way around, and we like continue that on,
Yeah.
but like got the recognition at the time.
Yeah, I mean, he had his high and low points, of course, like anyone did, and he started off pretty slow. And he didn't write everything that was perfect. Um, and yeah, like I said, he and the other chamber actors were struggling for a while, and then he was able to start writing things that were resonating with his common audience and
Sure.
just kind of like carried him up and up and up the ladder to be performing for monarchs and noble lords and ladies and things like that. So,
Yeah. So why did, for something that was like, grew to popularity and with a very specific or, as far as I'm aware, unique way of writing,
mhm,
how come more of that didn't? I feel like a lot of maybe we're getting at some already with, like, when you say with phrases and things we still use today or whatever.
mhm,
But there definitely is, I feel like in pop culture things today, we do come to a lot of new words and lingo and
mhm,
slang and stuff, and it does change. Like, you feel like there was enough of a so he had a large influence in this way, and the idea that it came from one man, because like I get lots of gamer slang or lingo, or maybe from martial arts or something, like it's like different
yeah,
segments, but they're all from different spaces. You just
that's
say that.
yeah, that's what I mean. Like all of that lingo didn't originate with one person. Like if you traced it
Mhm.
back, it would come from different groups, different people, like different, media per se.
Yeah,
But it wouldn't be like one person who just
yeah.
like spread it out. And like that's Shakespeare here.
Well, I don't think it came through in my notes well, but I definitely went through a journey watching this. At first, I'm like, okay, they're definitely going with the Shakespeare English. Okay, getting that.
Mhm.
I didn't know what they were gonna do for sure with that. And then I'm like, okay, I feel a little like an art student, and
Mhm.
next up is poetry slam. I felt like a little
Yeah.
pretentious inside. And then
Yeah.
and then it continued on. I was like, but now all of a sudden it's like this sounds I started to sound beautiful, you
Mhm.
know? Like you say, like a cadence or something. It started to be at first, I'm like trying to really focus, what are this? And then it sort of just like fit. And I
Yep.
don't know. It just kind of mellows you
Clicks.
out after a while. Yeah. And
Mhm.
so I thought that ended up being uh pretty beautiful watching, because I haven't watched much really either, in terms of like, reading is one thing, but then watching it being performed, another. And
Yeah,
yeah.
and I mean, as any student of Shakespeare will tell you, Shakespeare is meant to be spoken. There's
Mm.
just something that's lost in simply reading it, even though I do.
Mhm.
Um, it's just such a language meant to be spoken, and just the inflection, the cadence give you so much clue to the meaning that it's so much harder when you just read. So yeah, this is if you want to get into Shakespeare, performance is where it's at.
Nice. So how many other versions of Macbeth have you seen put to film or stage?
So I've seen Macbeth once on stage. Like I said, there's not a lot of call for Macbeth on the stage. It's people get very skittish in the theater about it. Um, and then I've seen my favorite adaptation of Macbeth is Ian McKellen and Dame Judi Dench
Mm.
in film. And it's very much like this, where it's not black and white, but it's more like a taped production on a soundstage, and there's
Mhm.
much less even scenery,
Mhm.
and much less, kind of surrounding backdrop. So it's very like, BBC took I think they did actually, kind of just quickly through a staged adaptation that they were doing over at the Royal Shakespeare Company, and filmed it, which they do quite often.
Sure. Mhm.
But just watching those two actors do this is amazing. And this movie felt very reminiscent of those performances. Um, Especially because while Ian McKellen and Judi Dench were younger then,
Mhm.
they were still older typically than what you think of Macbeth is.
Oh, okay.
And I think there's something about, like, how we know Ian McKellen and Judi Dench now. You just sort of, like, perpetually see them as older. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
they're just, like,
Yeah.
perpetually, like, in their 50s and 60s at least to
Yeah.
me.
Mhm.
Like, there's not, like, 20-year-old Ian McKellen somewhere. It just doesn't happen. He just
Well, our
skipped right
leads
over.
in this one aren't particularly young.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So that was actually pretty unusual,
Hmm.
that they were this much older, because usually Macbeth is
Oh, in
cast
this
younger.
version. Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
that's why it sort of again reminded me of that. Like,
Sure.
we ripped it from the stage and cast these two older leads in this, but just kind of took it a little bit more abstract, a little bit more art house.
Yeah. Yeah, so, we should talk about some specifics. I I don't know what drew me to this exactly. I guess it was the idea that I liked Macbeth when I read it, and it was very odd slash interesting to see Denzel being Macbeth. So I was like, okay, what is this gonna be like?
Like,
And
in the sense of him being Macbeth specifically, or him being in Shakespeare? Like him,
uh,
sorry, being in Shakespeare, doing Shakespeare.
I guess both. I was thinking more about being Macbeth, but I guess when
Mm,
you
okay.
mention, I suppose both. But yeah, I mean, I've been on record before saying like I think uh, Denzel never comes off as not acting well. Like it's not he's always solid. I just often see Denzel in a lot of the
Mm.
roles. And a couple exceptions. And
Yeah.
I haven't
Mhm.
seen all of his films or whatever, but when the film opened, I thought, okay, it's cool. I like this kind of trend that we're doing sometimes a 4:3 aspect and black and white. Caught on quick with the whole kind of doing things like you say, it's like on a set sort of thing. So it did feel almost in a way of watching a high production play.
Mhm.
um I just really started falling in love with the look of it, like the
Mm.
harsh shadows. It's interesting choices, the way everybody, like, so often they're becoming right at the camera, very
Mhm.
central to the frame. And
Mhm.
watching the special features later, then they had called out how they wanted to do this 4:3 to really focus on the performance of the actor, you really get up
Right.
close or whatever. And so I think that carried through. um see, how would you like the presentation?
I liked it for the most part. There were aspects that I wasn't completely in love with. Um, like the very kind of fakey looking starry sky. It just
Okay.
felt like, even though I know a lot of other things, especially when they were kind of walking through the more natural parts of the world, that when they were in the outside,
Yeah.
I know a lot of that was effects, especially because, like you were saying, we watched the kind of, bonus material talking about all of the effects that they did, especially at the end where
Mhm.
they were like moving grass and things like that. That didn't feel like, hey, these are effects right now.
Mhm.
And then that sky really felt just out of place somehow,
Okay.
just
Okay.
not quite fitting. So wasn't often, but I just felt like maybe something could have been done there. And especially I felt that way when Frances McDormand as Lady Macbeth was casting Macbeth's fateful letter to her, telling her like, "Hey, I met the Weird Sisters. They named me Thane of Cawdor. They said I was going to be king. Like, we're going to talk about the great things that are in store for me. Now burn this letter." And she did, and then she sort of like opened a door and like cast it out into the cosmos, and I was just like, "Where is this? What is that
Okay.
random, closet door to space Narnia?" Um, so yeah, so I didn't quite enjoy that aspect of it. So the sky and the universe feel didn't match what I felt from, like you were saying, kind of like the very shadowed and heavy kind of set looking things. Like everything
Mhm.
was, when they were in a building was very like shadowed and geometric, and there were bright white spaces and dark blacks. It didn't really fit that
Okay.
element of the set building.
Okay. Yeah, I think to me it was one of the biggest positives in bringing something unique to this was
Mhm.
how ethereal it felt. So it it felt very it didn't feel particularly grounded, like there
Yeah.
is moments where because here's a picture right now, it's surrounded in fog and mist, and that was very common, and it felt larger than real life,
Mhm.
and not um and I like that. It felt like out of a place out of time and space in a way. It's
I
almost be
agree
like
with you.
it's like if a doctor who the doctor visited some place and peered up and it's like, where am I? When am
Yeah.
I? It just and so it was kind of a cool way to tell this story that, has been able to impact people for many, many years, but in a very kind of like so it was almost weird when they would talk about Scotland and things
Mhm.
that bring you back to reality in a
Mhm.
sense and place you. So
Yeah, I agree with you that I liked the very abstract nature of the setting. I think it's just very specifically the element of space, if we're talking about cosmos space, that
mhm.
didn't quite fit into the rest. Even though, it didn't always match itself. Everything didn't, look the same. Sometimes things looked more realistic, sometimes things looked more abstract and geometric, and that was fine. Like I said, it was literally just that element of, you know, the universe that
Yep.
felt off to me.
And a couple of other things we learned in the bonus content was how they painted on some shadows. I thought that was
Mhm.
cool. They wanted to
Yeah.
get like these very stark, specific shadows, and so they just paint them
Yeah.
on the set. Because they had a lot of still camera shots. It's not one of
Mhm.
those things, those like sweeping, panning shots and all that stuff. So that could work. And then that they used theater lights
Mhm.
largely for this, for like to reinforce the kind of stage feel and the harsh, intense lighting as
Yeah.
opposed to like all the softboxed kind of theater lights they would always do. So or movie theater like cinema lights.
Yeah, movie
So
lights, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I love that there were, several different ways that they felt like they were calling out to being on a stage. So, like I was saying, some of the backdrops felt very flat and static, and it just felt like, painted backdrops that, go up on like the fly system, and you interchange like, here's
Yeah.
generic slab, back building number 1.
Mhm.
So, that was really fun. Um everything felt so in the foreground, which is what you can do on a stage. You don't really have a whole lot of depth, to go far back in and out. So, I love that everything felt like, okay, we've only got this much space in the foreground to work with, so here's where we're going to be.
Mhm.
Like you were saying, the very harsh lighting, the very white whites and deep blacks. And then even like fade out in scenes. I really enjoyed that because it felt in certain moments it's very like hitting the note of like here's the end of the speech, here's where the actor would walk off the stage and the lights would go dim
Mhm.
and the audience would be clapping.
Mhm.
I almost expected to hear that at times.
Mhm.
So the timing on some of those was really great.
Yeah, and the looking at the camera, I caught that a few times. It's
Hmm.
like an actor looking at you in the audience,
Indeed.
So, yeah, I thought that was fun as well.
That is such, I'm just gonna say as an actor, that is such a risky move sometimes.
I
Es
bet. Yeah.
Especially if you're not a veteran, because sometimes you think, like, "Oh, I'll, like, look out at my family," and then it just, like, jolts you out of whatever you're doing, and
Yeah.
you're like, "Oh my god, it's my mom. Blah. What was I
Mhm.
saying? What was I doing?" And sometimes it can be fine, and sometimes it can be very funny, especially if you've got one of those, like, "Oh, we're breaking the fourth wall" moments, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, we were at a show in Vegas. It was a great show,
Mhm.
and it was on a small circular stage that they would do it. Comedy thing with a lot of like kind of tricks and feats of strength and such. And one woman clearly did not know what she was signing up for when she went here for their like raunchy humor and
Sure,
stuff like that, was not on board. And it was bothering me as an audience member for one.
sure.
I'm like, everyone else here is having fun and you, lady, are not. And I can't stop looking at your sour face.
Yep.
It was clearly getting to the actors as well
Mhm.
because they're performing. And so I remember choir teachers saying like, make a connection with someone. And if you can make them feel, you're doing your job. If you can
Right.
see it in their eyes, or if they're just like dead, they're not selling it. And so obviously you could be connecting with that one person that's gonna be dead.
Mm,
You
yep,
can't
that's not
you
feeling it.
can't get them. Yep.
Yep.
They eventually called this woman out, and they're like, you know, "Are you enjoying this?" Whatever. And
Oh god.
she's like, "Yeah." She nods or whatever, and then he's like, "Well, make your face show it," or something like that. Yeah, it was
Ooh.
like I mean, it was with this guy's character kind of. He was
Sure.
kind of a snap sort of guy or whatever, and
Mhm.
he would be kind of mean. So he's I brought it up, but man, I don't think it made it better. I don't
Yeah.
think it made it better. Anyways, yeah, theater work. Yes.
Theater work.
Mhm. Um, let's see. So, what are the things you really want to talk about with this? I can go on with all kinds of stuff, but we got performances we haven't really talked about, how they did,
Yeah.
and
I am going to say that I really think Frances McDormand as Lady Macbeth is the standout here. I'm not saying Denzel didn't do a great job, but I really think she especially nailed it. Everything about her character felt genuine and authentic, and every time she opened her mouth, it was just like, naturally, this is what I'm gonna say. There was no artifice, there was no
hmm,
reading lines, there was just her as Lady Macbeth saying what she felt, what she thought, what seemed so obvious to her. I
yep.
just every one of her monologues, I just thought she nailed it.
I agree. I agree. Still I liked Denzel's performance. I
Mhm.
thought it was good because it was one thing I was going to bring up. It's like I think he's nominated for best actor here.
I believe so.
And so I was wondering like if it's deserved or not. That's one of my questions going in. Um,
I'm gonna be mad if she's not nominated, I guess, and he is, unless he's just got like a real weak field.
um, yeah,
Though I don't necessarily know that that should be taken into huge consideration, but
yeah. Let's see. Okay, Best actor, best actress. Okay. Oh yeah, Denzel Washington. He's nominated,
Mhm.
and she is not.
Oof, I'm
Let's
mad.
let's check supporting
I
actor.
mean, maybe.
No.
Mad. Mad.
So yeah. So
She
because
she
the
deserves the nod more than he does. I'm gonna say that right now.
yeah, so the field for best actor is Javier Bardem, Benedict Cumberbatch, Andrew
Mm.
Garfield, and Will Smith.
Is Garfield for
That's
Tick Tick Boom?
yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yep. So
Sorry, I was just trying to remember what he was
yeah,
in that would be
I don't
nominated.
know any of those movies other than King Richard that Will Smith is in. I've heard of that one.
Mhm. I
So
know, Cumberbatch is The Power of the Dog, which I believe is a
yes.
Netflix film,
Okay. Okay. Huh.
and I know
Well,
that's
yeah.
nominated for a lot, so I'm interested in seeing that, but tangent, we'll shelve that.
Hmm.
Yeah, I am highly disappointed,
Okay.
highly disappointed that she is not nominated because I really just think she outdid Denzel.
Hmm.
I'm not gonna say it was just like a smearing, like, not that he couldn't hold his
No,
own, but again, she just edged him out in her performance. Everything
I,
just felt more true and authentic.
I thought they were solid performances all around, pretty much.
Yeah.
So I was happy with performances in general. But yeah, I agree that McDormand was a standout. Um,
I will say out of the 2 Shakespeare films that I've seen Denzel in, I I do prefer him, I think, in Much Ado About Nothing,
okay.
where he has license to be funny and comedic and
Mm,
expressive and grand as the Duke. Like, he's just a little bit more fun.
hmm.
Um, and I just feel like that fits him better. Not that he can't do, this level of seriousness and this level of tragedy. I just think out of the 2 performances, I think I prefer him in the
I
other.
mean, I loved him running out of the dining hall, chasing,
Yeah.
things not there, and then,
Oh, it's
waking up.
Banquo's ghost, but it's a raven, so it's the weird sisters just
Hmm.
playing games. Oh, I loved that.
Yeah. And I love how the Weird Sisters are portrayed. I thought it was
Yes.
so cool. So when
So
you
good.
first see him and it's like the one with 2 more reflections in the water and they become
Mhm.
one, I thought that was great. And then in the
Mhm.
rafters, I just thought that was really fun.
Yes. Also, I'm not gonna lie, there were some actors in here that I was just like, "Look at you from Harry Potter." Like,
Oh, yeah?
you know what I mean? Like, Dudley was in there.
Mhm.
He's
Yeah.
Malcolm, the son. And then the Weird Sisters were played by Catherine Hunter, who I believe is Arabella Figg, the
Ah.
the squib who lived next door to Harry and, like,
Yeah.
has to
You're right.
testify that he sees the
That looks
Dementors
like
or
her.
whatever. Um,
Yeah.
and then I thought there was one more guy in there that I was just like, "Hey, guys, like, you having a little reunion over here?"
So you see the guy on the screen right now?
Ross, yeah, mhm.
Okay, I went through the whole movie not knowing who that was.
They
Like,
don't say his name.
okay,
I
because
mean,
I'm like,
they might once, but they generally don't. Like Macbeth is named often, like Duncan and Banquo and
mhm,
Macduff are all named quite often, but yeah, he
okay.
is not.
I I really liked him in this. I thought he was a interesting character, and I didn't remember what he was gonna do. So,
Right.
it was
Yeah,
that was
he's a little weasel man,
beneficial.
isn't he?
Mhm.
Just
Yeah.
snaking around, kind of being a little opportunist, serving whoever's working out for him.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
But I liked his outfit. Like the clothes for him was very good.
Mhm.
And yeah, he was fun to watch. Um, I think I wrote down a couple lines because you'd mentioned too, like What, screw
Professor
your perch, the
Moody.
sticking post?
Sorry.
Oh.
I was trying to find the last Harry Potter guy, Professor Moody.
Oh,
He was
yes, of
Duncan.
course. Of course. Yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't even
sorry.
think of that when I
It was
watched
really
it.
bothering me. I was like, "Ah, I'm missing a
Brendan
big one
Gleeson,
here."
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he
Okay,
did a good
anyway.
job. I was excited to see him too. I
Yes.
didn't make the connection and, yes, Moody, of course.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, so different, like,
Yeah.
he's got both eyes and a beard.
Yep.
I have to say, while we're on the subject of him, I really enjoyed his performance when he realizes, Macbeth is there to kill him. Like, what an awful moment that you could just watch it transform on his face, where he wakes up, kind of disoriented, but he sees a friend and he's trusting. And, Macbeth is like, oh, it's okay. Like, shh, it's fine. And he's still like, okay. Like, you know, and then the
Mhm.
second his hand kind of creeps over his mouth and he just like, oh shit, realizes.
Yeah.
Just what an incredible range to have to convey without words. And I think he did a
Mhm.
good job.
Yep. Yeah, the whole scene I liked a lot. Going down the hallway with the large
Mm,
thuds, the
yes.
dagger coming out of the sleeve, seeing the
Footfalls.
dagger on the
Footfalls felt very
door.
like yeah, footfalls very felt very important in this. They were always like this extra loud sound. I think I
Mhm,
have a note about it somewhere, there's just like it's very like footsteps of doom, your fateful
mhm.
footfalls. It just felt like, you're walking along this path and there was just this emphasis on that. So, yeah, I really liked that walk too.
Mhm. I don't, I don't know what the line was that I wrote it in response to, but my response was, "I will not come for your woman's breasts, no thank you."
So it's Lady Macbeth basically saying like, come spirits. She's like saying, "Come, you spirits, unsex me
Yeah,
here.
yeah, that's right.
Come for my woman's breasts
Yes.
and leech my milk and fill it
Mhm,
with, I think, like bile or something like that." Um, but yeah, so she's basically saying like, stop up all my human emotions and human tendencies, frailties, weaknesses, my womanly heart that tends towards kindness. I have to be cold, unfeeling, cruel. So take of me like in Shakespeare's day, they were very, very obsessed with like fluids because your different
mm,
fluids would, tell like what kind of humors you had and had all effects on like your health and your disposition. So her reference to like milk is, very apt for the time, of course.
sure. Yeah.
So yeah, it's an odd way to phrase it, but it's
Mhm.
basically saying like stop up any like motherly, instincts and caring that I might have for another so that I can do this horrible thing that I need to do for my husband.
So, is there a greater motivation that I am not understanding for Macbeth and his wife to so desire the throne? Like, is there something more, or like just a deserving feeling like we should have this, and
Yeah.
idea that we're not being given this is such an insult? Like it's just a pride, ego thing, or
Yeah, there's kind of several different themes, especially in this movie, that are explored in relation to that. Um, I was, kind of listening into the um the extra bonus material and then reading some articles online talking about, these particular Macbeth's age, Macbeth and his lady, and how there's a really big thing about neither of them having any children. And
mm,
so and they changed a line, I don't remember which one, but in this version to kind of emphasize the fact that there's been that disappointment and that void in their lives. And so in this particular version, that's a bit of a reason where they have this like void and gap where they have no kids. So being king and queen kind of fill this vacuum and this, empty
mm,
space that they have. Um in Shakespeare's original, there's not so much emphasis on that, but there is. this, one notion of the idea that when you've been told that this is your fate,
Right.
like how far do you go to just like make it happen? How far do you like expect it to just come to you? And,
Yeah.
when there's like seeming obstacles in your way, like, you know, Macbeth is named Thane of Cawdor, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, like this is so great! Like I'm eventually going to be named king. Like cool." And he seems very content to wait on that. But then suddenly Malcolm is named Prince, and he's like, "Whoa, whoa, that's not what was supposed to happen. Like, how am I going to get around this obstacle?" So
Hmm.
there's a certain sense of like how far do you go when you know what your fate is supposed to be, and it
Yeah.
doesn't seem like it's happening.
Right.
Um, so yeah, so
Yeah.
that's definitely an aspect of that.
How much of your destiny is in your hands
Right.
when you know your destiny,
Right,
supposedly.
right. Yeah, what happens when you expect things,
Yeah.
when you're promised things and it seems like they won't be fulfilled? Do you still trust that fate is going to make that happen, or do you then say, "Okay, well, this is an unforeseen obstacle. I better make this happen."
Hmm. Yep. Okay. Yeah. I remember in high school always being, okay, theme, you know,
Yeah.
power of suggestion. Power of
Mhm.
suggestion being the thing. But
Yeah.
so I wrote down, is it common that not every, because I would think that if you're, I don't know, I guess this is kind of just maybe emblematic of how long Shakespeare has been done and how many times.
Mhm.
Because, like, for starters, it's weird to me that people don't have English or Scottish accents.
Mhm.
I mean, is it normal for an actor to attempt the accent or to
Yes.
like just okay?
I would
So,
say in this one, it didn't bother me necessarily because we were talking about how abstract this is, how like out of place in time. There's just
mhm,
certain references that you can't get out of Shakespeare. Talking about Dunsinane and Inverness. They're being in Scotland. Like you just can't.
right.
You could, but I just think it would be so noticeable to try and take those references out. So it's really just like an abstract country of Scotland here. So I
Yeah.
didn't particularly bother me, but yeah, it's very normal in your traditional Shakespeare to attempt either.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of what I came to too, is like the accents and then like having at this point in time a bunch of black people in Scotland is all
Mhm.
very odd, but again, I guess that's how I kind of rationalized it, was just how, again, ethereal and, like you say, out of time this is feels, you
Mhm.
know. It's very artistic,
Yeah.
and it's like definitely a kind of film I want to see more of. Like we did the Lighthouse, even, black and
Yeah.
white, 4:3, just kind of like going throwing it all out there, being a little, it's kind of the exact opposite of what I was complaining about, as with Hollywood and stuff. It's
Yeah.
very specific and it's
Yeah.
very stylized and yeah.
Yeah, I
And
think you can kind of see that reflection in, critic scores on, for Rotten Tomatoes, for example, is like a 93% and audience is like 76. That's okay.
mhm.
It's okay
Yeah.
that like 90% of the audience also didn't love this. It's not a movie for everyone. It's
Yeah.
still good, clearly,
Mhm.
but yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. I had a there's a couple lines I had to write down that I liked a
Mm.
lot.
Mhm.
Your leafy three screens throw down. I like that
Mhm.
for whatever reason. It's just like the forest is moving and like,
Yeah.
yeah, just your leafy
That
screens throw down.
that
Like
that
I
was a
like
fun staging. I really
it's
enjoyed that.
and then unnatural deeds do breed unnatural troubles.
Mhm.
I liked that line a lot. Uh,
Yeah, I like it as well because it sort of talks about this like spiral effect that Macbeth gets into. Once he starts with the murder of Duncan, then he's like, "Oh shit, now I got to murder his, attendants. Now I got to
yeah.
murder these other people. Now I got to murder these other people." And it's just like spirals like out of control because every
Mhm.
person keeps being a problem. Like it never stops being a problem for him.
Mhm.
And he never just gets to like enjoy being king because there's always somebody who's suspicious and always somebody who's like, oh, maybe if I just kill them, all of the questions will stop. Nope, they didn't. Okay, now it's this person that I gotta kill.
Mhm.
So yeah.
So I didn't know if is it in my head or was it intentional. I took note that it seemed like servants and more common people spoke more plainly.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
I did.
that's I mean, there's not a lot of children in Shakespeare, but it's often true that servants, um, or attendants or, kind of
Yeah.
the
Or,
lower
or the
class, if
kid.
you
Yeah.
will, speak more plainly.
Mhm.
Shakespeare does distinguish class at times for certain.
Because when the two attendants were kind of talking about Lady Macbeth as they're witnessing her in the
Mm,
courtyard and
mhm.
stuff, they just seemed like it was a more simple kind of
Yeah.
talk. And then the
Mhm.
kid that's talking to his mom later,
Macduff, yeah. Mhm.
it seems very again, it's like, wow, I don't have to think at all about what you're saying. It's
Mm.
just like, so I didn't know if it's just something I was getting used to or if it seemed more intentional. So
Yeah, like I said, there's not often children or like true young children. There might be like teens, obviously in
mhm.
Shakespeare, but yeah, servants and the like usually talk a bit more plain.
Yep. Um, what
I have to
else do you have to say about
say,
this?
I have to say, if we're talking favorite lines, there are a couple that I wrote down because I loved. One of my favorites is talking about the death of the original Thane of Cawdor very early on. And Ross comes in to report to Duncan, like, hey, it's done, it's all good. And he's like, nothing became him in life like the leaving of it. And I was just like, damn, that's such a cold eulogy. Like, you did nothing good in life except die. That was the one good thing you did. Just, oof.
But it's a pretty
Shakespeare can
way to
be
say it.
cold. It is. It's a pretty way to say it, but I mean, when you stop and think about it,
Mhm.
oof, that's ice. Um, so I love that one. Let's see. Um, I really liked the line that Lady Macbeth has, um, where she talks about things without remedy should be without regard. And she's basically saying,
Mm,
like things that can't be fixed, aren't worth your time thinking about because there's no
right.
solution to fixing them.
Yep.
And it's it's a great line and it's such like a God, if only it was that easy. Macbeth
Sure.
obviously struggles with it, and so do we all. There
Mhm.
there are things that we can't go back and undo, or there are problems that we want to solve but we can't, or there are thoughts that we have that we feel like, "Ah, why am I dwelling on this?"
Mhm.
And yet you do, and it's just I don't know. I
What's the
that
line
line
again?
just uh things with where is it? Things without remedy should be without regard.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
problems that can't be solved don't bear
Yeah.
thinking about.
That's good
But you
because
do.
I say all the time, I'm like, if don't worry about the things for which you do not have control over.
Mhm.
Like I say all the time. So this is a more concise, nice
Yeah.
way to say it. That should
It's good, it's good.
Mhm.
And then speaking of, like, phrases that we still use, um, I really love the line, "Screw your courage to the sticking place," because it reminds me immediately, because 'cause I'm such a big, big nerd, of Disney's Beauty and the Beast. Where Gaston is, like, rallying up the villagers to go get the beast, and he's, like, singing his song about, like, "Yeah, we're going through the night," and he,
Mhm.
like, gathering up all his men, and he's like, "Screw your courage to the sticking place." It's like,
Ah.
Disney just, like, ripped a whole line of Shakespeare, and we totally
Hmm.
got it. So, like, look at that. Look at that whole phrase that came from Shakespeare that we still used in the '90s to
Yeah.
convey you know, go be a man and go face your thing. Like, go be courageous.
You think Disney is referencing Shakespeare anymore these days?
I mean, probably.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think anyone there has
Probably
read
not.
Shakespeare.
probably not as overtly as they did in some, like The Lion King is basically just like one big animated fuzzy version of Hamlet, so, you know.
Sure.
Um,
Nice.
but yeah, it's just like, look at that. See, like even in today's world, we use phrases like that and we just like know what it
Yeah.
means.
Is there anything you really had issue with or didn't like at all? Yeah.
There was something, and again, this is kind of on the smaller side, but it was so distracting. This is a perfect shot. So you see we're at the back of, if you're watching video, we're at the back of Frances McDormand's head, and
Hmm.
where the camera lens is focused beyond her to Denzel.
Hmm.
There were multiple times during shots like these when Frances McDormand was speaking and you could see her mouth moving and the sound absolutely did not match her lip movements. It was so far off that sometimes her mouth would be
Interesting.
fully closed and like the words were still happening in the voiceover.
Was there something wrong with your sound system?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
I know this for sure. It happened way too many times to be like
Okay.
some weird glitchy thing. So please,
Interesting.
somebody go back and fix that because it really took me out of some great speeches and great moments by Frances McDormand.
That's crazy. I wonder if I'd probably see that now next time watching, and it would drive me crazy because I didn't notice it at all.
It
So
it caught my eye a little bit when she has that first soliloquy when she's talking to Macbeth after she like kind of wakes up from her nap and she sees him and they're, hugging
he
and she's
just
kind
gets
of
back
holding
home.
on to
Yeah.
him and there's like a camera angle from the back of her head and I just sort of caught like, oh, that speech didn't match those lip movements and then I was like watching again. I'm like, it's still not matching. And then in that scene I just pointed out the same thing happened and I was like, somebody's got to fix that.
Huh. Well, that's why she didn't get nominated because they said that her lips weren't lining up right.
Oh god.
Her fault. So,
Yeah, some
mhm.
sound designer somewhere's got it coming.
Yep. Um, yeah, I took quite a few notes on this. I didn't know what I was gonna think of it. I really had
Mhm,
a good time with it.
mhm.
I thought I just really dug the vibe, and the way it was shot, and enjoyed the performances. So yeah,
Yeah.
Ashley was gonna watch it with me, and it didn't quite work out, and I'm like, "Well, if you wanna watch it, I'll watch it again." Yeah, because it's not that super long either. That was nice.
Yeah,
It's not this, like, it's not a 3-hour thing, you know?
right.
It's not drawn out. It feels like stuff keeps moving and keeps happening, and, yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, I feel like it's a really solid and good movie. It's well made. There's nothing I would point to that says like this is the obvious weak link. Um, it's not perfect, but it's really good.
Mhm.
And one of the things I really found myself um clicking with in the bonus material is, just talking about the way that Frances McDormand and Joel Coen worked as a husband and wife team. And I was like, what
Mhm.
a perfect play for that to happen on about,
Yeah.
a husband and wife team,
Mhm.
trying to get on the same page. It because sometimes, the Macbeths really are, and sometimes they're not. Like sometimes one of them is going further and the other's like, ooh, like, I didn't know we were going there, and then sometimes, the other one goes a little bit further, and they're like, "Oh, man, okay,
I
I guess, we're taking it to the next level."
I don't know if it is be enough to be considered a stereotype or not, but I like it felt true to life to me in a lot of ways. Like when Macbeth lets her know of what he's heard that he can become,
Mhm.
she is so ready, like, do this, she
Yeah,
is so
it's
amped
happening.
and like, you need to make this happen. And so it's one of those things like, having this woman by your side that's like pushes you,
Mhm.
to go somewhere or whatever. It's like a hugely
Get
motivating
that
factor.
promotion or yeah.
Yeah, like, yeah, you can do it kinda, so they ends up doing it, and we get to a point where it's like, "Okay, now maybe pump the brakes."
Yep.
Like, I know I wanted you to do this, but can we just, like, let's take it back a step. And
Yeah.
then it just, yeah, like
I didn't
spirals
mean
out of
for it to go
control.
this far.
Yeah, right. So it's a great, like, careful what you wish for, but then,
Mhm.
like, yeah, absolutely. I liked how that all played out.
Mhm.
And yeah. So
Yeah.
um well, I don't know. I kind of want to see him for me to absorb more Shakespeare, I feel like I need Cohen and McDormand to make another one in this kind of style.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're not the most popular, but any of the histories would become them well, I think. There's plenty of older women's roles there that McDormand could slide into. It's hard because when you think of like a lot of Shakespeare's, I mean, Hamlet obviously would be a really great one. She would be an excellent Gertrude, I think. Um, but yeah, when you think of Shakespeare, there's the most popular plays. It's really geared, for younger actors and younger
Hmm.
settings. So it's just yeah, it's hard to figure out what she could do. But
Well, and
Hamlet
I'd be
would
okay
Hamlet
with
would be
being.
good.
I'd be, if she's like just a kind of side character and like largely takes on a co-directing role, like I'd
Sure.
be fine with that too, but
Yeah,
I
I
just want to,
think after this performance, I'd love to see her again. So yeah,
yeah, yep.
like I said,
Yeah,
Hamlet would be a good one because that would have a good role for her to fit into.
nice. Well, let's tweet at him,
Make
get
it
all our
happen.
millions of followers to tweet at him as well. And
Start a movement.
yeah, right.
Oh my
So,
God, what else are we gonna do tonight, John? You wrote a movie. We're starting a movement. Like, man, we're
yeah,
crushing this Monday thing.
right. Yep. All right. Well, yeah, unless there's anything else, that's been the Tragedy of Macbeth from
Mhm.
Apple TV Plus.
Yeah,
And
thumbs up.
yeah,
I think it's a
absolutely.
well done movie and definitely worth your time.
Hmm. Yep. So yeah, if you have the subscription, go and check it out. Give it time for your brain to acclimate to the dialogue and the presentation. Like, just give yourself a minute and it'll get there. So, um yeah, we've covered a lot today. That's been Popcast on the Rocks episode 99. Next
Just
week
one
is the
away.
100, yeah, the official 100.
Woohoo.
So, I'm thinking we'll be talking about the final 2 episodes of Raised by Wolves,
Mhm.
I believe. So, seems like a good thing to talk about on the
Mhm.
100th episode.
Absolutely.
Killing the Flower, they wrote our theme song, so you should check them out on Instagram, Spotify, and YouTube. And you can follow us on here on Twitch or on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all those kinds of
Mhm.
things. Just search Popcast on the Rocks. If you're an audio only listener, this is like podcasts. We're on a lot of podcast services. Please leave us a review at whichever one you choose to use. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for joining me as always, Andrea.
Of course. Couldn't miss a Shakespeare episode.
Mhm.
Cheers, everybody.